Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thanks for making it. It's really great to give this talk to locals. And like some of you, and probably many of you, I grew up in the 70s fueled by Shasta soda and Wonder Bread. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Just outside of Yellowstone National Park, born in Billings, raised in Paradise Valley in the summers. And my family was thrilled to snap this photo of me right before I heroically peed my pants. And they call it out. I was looking at some grizzly bears and some bison, and I don't know what else I was doing. But I traded in the bison jams for the park, for the traffic jams of LA, to pursue a PhD in computational linguistics and ancient languages. No wonder why I came back. Followed by a 30-year career in Silicon Valley, most recently working on artificial intelligence. And now I like to say, in the final act of my life, I decided to heed the warning of one of my heroes, Jim Harrison. The danger of civilization is that you will piss away your life on nonsense. So here's to Jim, and I hope he approves. Bioacoustics is the study of the sounds that living things make, and the Cry Wolf Project is a bioacoustics initiative in the greater Yellowstone that has become the world's largest database of wild wolf vocalizations, including many that never make it into nature documentaries, like barfing and farting and snoring of real wolves. Now, our moonshot is to decode one of nature's most iconic sounds, the howl. And along the way, the team is building AI technology that lowers the cost of wildlife research and will prove invaluable to law enforcement. In the first half of this talk, I'll show you how these tools are transforming the study of animal communication. In the second, we'll have a little fun and learn a little wolfish and discover that the wolf on your couch still speaks traces of the same ancient tongue. So close your eyes for me. I'm going to play the howl of a real wolf. This wolf was called 907. The typical wolf in Yellowstone lives only 3.5 years, roughly. When 907 made this howl, she was 11 years old. She had one eye, she was pretty battle-worn, and had given birth to more litters than any other Yellowstone wolf on record. Now, with your eyes closed, imagine that you're sitting under an 80-foot fir tree. Then she starts, and one long, low note, and then she paces in the rocks beside you, then 2 more howls, followed by her breathing next to your cheek. Here it is. She kept that up for an hour, calling to her pack who were more than a mile away. So open your eyes. This is what she said. It's called a spectrogram. It's a way to visualize sound, and it's very important in the use of artificial intelligence, not just animals. Well, not just non-human animals. And here she is. She was the matriarch of the Junction Butte pack. I like to call her the one-eyed wonder, as you can see from that nighttime camera trap. She had a somewhat unique howl. The average Yellowstone wolf howls at a pitch of 350 hertz, which is middle F on a piano keyboard. But the stout 110-pound 907, chunky monkey for a female, had a deeper voice, a sturdy 320 hertz. And I learned to pick her voice out in a crowd of howling wolves. But that's not the same as knowing why is she howling, which brings us to stupid pet tricks. Now raise your hand if you can translate the words I'm about to play for you. Don't scream them out, just raise your hand. Ready? Okay, one more time. Anybody? Did I tell you not to scream it out? Yeah, the 5th graders didn't even screw that up. So most of us miss that. But here's the catch. If I give you just a little more context, your brain, if I met you 20 years from now, your brain would immediately recognize it. And that's how powerful context is. So what were those words?
We've never had it. Odie actually talks?
Yes.
Oh my God. Do you have a microphone or something?
I got one on my shirt.
Okay, all right, here we go. And what will Odie say?
He says, I love you.
All right, Odie will say, I love you.
Odie, I love you. 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 Odie, I love you.
I love David Letterman, actually. So animals can be taught to imitate a lot of sounds, including human speech. Nosy the beluga whale could do it. Hoover the seal could do it with a Boston dialect. And Kosik the elephant actually spoke in Korean. Now, imitation is one thing, but as a linguist, the question I often get is, do wolves actually talk? Yes, no, and maybe is always my answer, and I will always stick to that because it all comes down to how you define what is perhaps the least understood word of all, language. Now, recently, the media has been talking a lot about the use of artificial intelligence to decode animal communication, from bats to elephants and everything in between, and that's the moonshot of our project. Why do wolves howl? You'd think by now we'd have cracked that code, but I don't think we have. Wild wolves aren't easy interview subjects. You can't just walk up to them with a mic and say, what did you mean by that, right? That's where AI is helpful. Now, it is not a Captain Midnight secret decoder ring. Definitely it's not. It's just a tool. It helps us sift through endless and endless amounts of data, finding the wolf howls, and more exciting, spotting patterns that might reveal meaning in their voices. Now that's me going old school near 907's natal den, channeling how researchers had to study howls in the 60s and 70s. Some of you are probably in this room. Now, what they had to do was use a parabolic mic, the kind that Mike and I used to use as a flying saucer sled, a cassette deck to record on tape, a lab full of electronics, often operated by a scientist with a bad hairdo, just to turn a howl into lines on paper. Now, in the catch, you had to be there in the flesh when the wolf howled to record it. Those old cassette tapes could record about 2 hours of sound each. To store what we record in a single year today, you'd need 45,000 of them. An entire school bus packed to the roof. If you unspooled them, the tape would run around the earth. Now we store an entire year onto a $400 hard drive that fits in my hand. For the first time, humans can eavesdrop on wolves, elk, birds, and more across entire landscapes, day and night, year-round, thanks to these little devices called ARUs, or autonomous recording units. Now, my company calls our little startup, our Montana startup, calls ours the GrizzCam, and you can think of them as the next generation of camera traps, like iPhones and Siri built for the wild. We're designing them to run for months on a single battery and to see, hear, and even smell in every direction. Now, we build ours for private landowners and public agencies trying to protect and manage what's left of the wild world, to advance field science, to watch for fires, to detect the location of a poacher's gunshot, to deter predators from livestock, to tell powerful stories about the amazing animals that drive our local tourism economy. So how do we use these devices to study the wolf howl? Well, Yellowstone scientists deploy these ARUs 5 miles apart in a grid. Those push pins are the grid, or the ARUs, to listen for wolves across the northern half of Yellowstone. Wolves, elk, and gunshots are loud. You can kind of think car horn loud. And we've recorded howls from 5 miles away. Those colored polygons represent the home ranges of breeding wolf packs that frequent this area. The grid picks up their vocal footprints, recording when they're talking and when they're not. And the beauty is this is non-invasive and low-cost occupancy monitoring. One that, for example, Montana could adopt to save taxpayer money on how we monitor wildlife. Now, of course, there's still a place for GPS collars, but we want to see if we can use a wolf's voice and not just their neck. So that's Dr. Dan Staler and Kira Cassie deploying the first old school ARU in 2023. A year later, his team rolled out the full grid, locations which you're seeing here in the video. And the last spot you'll see is aptly named Hell Mountain. And there's a reason. Deploying these devices can burn a full staff person day. So if our new ARUs pack more sensors and last longer, we estimate a labor reduction of 66% just for deployments.
I see it, Claire.
That's the top of Hell Mountain.
I visualize it. Right there.
These
Yep.
researchers
Okay,
hike a lot.
yeah. Oh, we did it.
Not
Hey,
on
Claire.
horseback.
Huh.
Here.
The views are gorgeous. Yeah.
So wait, it gets better. Sometimes they leave me messages like this one.
I hate you, Jeff.
So the next year we placed a recorder near a wolf den site. Wolves have over 20 different call types, including barks, yelps, whimpers, whines, moans, whoas, and even teeth clacking. And they're one of a few species who collectively communicate in what's called a chorus or a chorus howl. Now, pups first hear this lexicon of sounds at their birth dens. And so we departed. And 1 month later, the pack arrived and the pregnant female claimed the den. Can you see her there? Look just close. Her head's poking out, and she's taking a well-deserved pregnancy now. And we'll come back to her. 3 months later, I created this visual representation of every sound recorded at the den site during the month of July. It includes every sound that passed by the den, not just wolves. It's elk, bison, bobcats, and a bunch more. Now you can check out this spectrogram in the museum's exhibit, and more importantly, you can listen to the sounds that come from it on a three-dimensional state-of-the-art speaker system. Now, each row represents 1 day of sound, from midnight on the left edge to midnight on the right, and there are 30 rows. 31, thank you. The AI finds patterns in the spectrograms like the one in the circle there that is a wolf chorus howl. Those blobs of color are the birds starting to sing their dawn chorus each morning, and it's shifting to the right throughout the month because daylight's decreasing, right? Now, these devices don't sleep at night like we do, and they revealed what no human had stayed up 24/7 to confirm. Wolves mostly howl at night, no matter the season of the year. Now, to give you a sense of how grand the scale of this project is, I'm going to show you something I don't think has ever been done before, at least with wolves. What you're about to see is a 5-month time lapse of daily wolf howls from roughly 60 wolves in 6 different packs spread across Yellowstone's northern range, the American Serengeti, one of the wildest symphonies left on Earth. Now, here's a photo of it I took on a flight, and if I turn it sideways and overlay it on the map, that's Gardner on the left, the northwest gateway, and the northeast on the right. Now, everything in between, about 500 square miles, is the stage for what you're about to hear and see. Each colored dot is one of our recorders. When it blinks, that recorder detected wolves howling within 3 miles sometime during that day. And down at the bottom, you can see the days drift by with each blink. Here it is, our ode to howl. So I don't get paid to do any of this work, so it's as good as it can be, but if you have a junior chipmunk that knows Adobe After Effects, have them call me and we'll make that even better. But hopefully it got the point across. Okay, let's learn a little wolfish. The Tukadika, or the so-called sheep eaters or mountain Shoshone who lived in what we now call Yellowstone, understood animal communication far better than most of us modern people. A trapper who crossed their path in the 1800s gave witness that they didn't just study nature, they spoke with it, same as you'd talk to your dog or an old friend. Quote, the sheep eaters are complete masters of the language of birds and beasts and can imitate to the utmost perfection the singing of birds, the howling of wolves, and the neighing of horses. Now in the museum exhibit, look for the work of archaeologists Scott and Sari Dursum. They're helping tell the story of Yellowstone's potential first human visitors, the Clovis people. And you can learn about the dogs that they brought with them who had evolved from wolves. So how do we, modern humans, begin to be more like the Tukadika or the Clovis? The first step is really simple. It's just listen, right? So let's listen to some actual wolves, and we'll begin with the howl. This is a picture of 50 individual wolf howls. Your eyes and AI can find patterns in them. And if you leave here with anything, I hope it's this. A howl is not just a howl. These images are called spectrograms. They're not rocket science, and there won't be a test. They simply visualize sound. The y-axis, running like this vertically, represents frequency or pitch from low to high. And the x-axis displays sound over time, and brighter colors display amplitude or loudness. And those duplicate lines you're seeing fading up, those aren't multiple wolves. Those are harmonics. A wolf's howl, just like a guitar string or a singer's voice, never makes just one note. The lowest line, called the fundamental frequency, is the pitch our ears as humans lock onto. And the rest of those harmonics layer above it, creating texture in the sound. Now watch the sound of a wolf howl represented in this spectrogram and follow the vertical bar. Okay, so now you're an expert. Now, like humans, wolves have distinct voices. Researchers have determined that wolves can identify one another by their howls, primarily by the fluctuations in pitch and amplitude. Now, 907's is in the top left, and I listened to over 500 of her howls, and she rarely varied from this pattern. To study individual wolf howls, Yellowstone's Wolf Project team rigged a few collars with tiny microphones last year called biologgers, which record the vocalizations of an individual wolf as it goes about its daily business.
Here is yearling female from the 8 Mile Pack, 1507F. And history's been made. This is the first Yellowstone wolf to wear an audio logger. This will be recording periodically throughout the winter all the sounds that this animal makes, and hopefully her pack mates, howling, growling, hunting, playing. And then this collar will blow off in the spring. We'll trigger a blow off and we can get the data back, and it has a GPS collar as well. So we're pretty excited about this new area of Yellowstone bioacoustic research.
So one thing has become clear to me after listening to thousands and thousands of recordings of wolves: they talk a lot more than my dogs. After analyzing a month of audio from 1507, this yearling female, I realized that she was a regular Chatty Cathy. Remember that doll? Was it a doll? I think it was a doll. We like to imagine as humans that mostly animals are living in silence while we're filling the air with chatter. But this particular wolf spoke her language nearly half as much as a typical American speaks in a day. About an hour of wolf talk to R2. Now, 1507, the first wild wolf fitted with an acoustic biologger ever, was shot outside of Yellowstone. She made this her last howl not far from where I live. But our moonshot is to decode wolfish, to find out if different howls have different meanings. Now, the basic meaning of the howl that I prefer is, here I am, where are you? It's kind of like yelling, hey, my name is Jeff, right? To get someone's attention. Now, wolves often do this to stay in contact with their pack mates, like 907 was doing. But as you know, you can say the word hey in many different ways, depending on whether you're looking at a friend across the street or a person keying your car, right? So here's three different types of howls that we're starting to see enough behavior around that we're getting a clue as to the differences. That's often a howl of aggression, like, hey, bring it on. That's a howl often used in contexts of distress, like, hey, help. No one believes me on this one, but I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm seeing more and more contexts where that is a howl of confusion. Like, hey, what's going on? Now, wait until we publish the science on this before you just believe me on that. But I'm feeling more and more comfortable that at least these three types of howls and two others aren't simply random variations. So most dogs do not howl. They don't have to, right? Because we pulled them from their packs and we dropped them into our houses. What we humans likely wanted from our first proto-dogs was barking, right? We incented them to bark when the short-faced bear or the saber-toothed cat came too close for comfort. Now our wolves are in retirement and they sound the alarm at the DoorDash dealer or the UPS driver. Now those are my dogs. Ozzy, Huck, and Shiloh, left to right. They and my wife are my pack. And each, just like humans, has slightly different communication personalities. Shiloh is my C- dog. He doesn't say much at all. He uses his nose, and canids use their nose and scent to communicate as well. Why do you think people wear perfume or cologne when they go to the bar? They're communicating something. Now, Huck is my border collie. Rather than whine, she pushes her snout up against my arm while I'm typing on the computer to get my attention. She prefers gestural communication, right? And wolves do that a lot. Ozzy, however, is part husky and part Malamute and is far more wolfish in behavior. He uses whoas, whimpers, whines, and moans, and he howls. Ozzy came to us from Prairie Song Rescue here in Park County, and he was born into a Utah puppy mill masquerading as a breeder of wolf hybrids. And he was abused as a pup, and when we got him at 10 months, he was tough to handle. Like, we were kennel training him, and he'd go into a panic at night, crying like a newborn. And one night I was worn thin, and I asked myself, how do you calm a baby wolf? Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I decided I would howl my best imitation of 907. Here I am. The night stopped, and Ozzy, for the first time, howled back. You see, he was in the other room of the house. When I howled, he knew I was there, and then I finally went to sleep. Okay, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about chorus or chorus howls. A chorus is when a pack of wolves communicate as a group, often to signal to a rival pack that this is their territory. It's kind of like a political rally. Hey, here we are, right? And outside Yellowstone, humans are the #1 cause of a wolf's death. Inside Yellowstone, the #1 cause of a wolf's death is another wolf, typically from another pack. So it's very important for a pack to announce their presence to other packs. And we're also learning who might be in charge of getting all of the wolves in a pack to join in a chorus. Now in this video, a wolf is off camera howling, being totally ignored by his pack mates until As soon as the alpha female howled, the rest of the wolves looked at her and the chorus began. She was the conductor of this chorus. And there she is, she's black and graying with age. And everybody then comes together in a mosh pit of dancing bodies. You'll see puppies come running in. And some of the wolves, especially females, use a distinct type of sound called a whoa howl. And we suspect it serves to reinforce family bonds. I think of it as a wolf's version of I love you. And these chorus howls last about 90 seconds. Thank goodness, unlike the Democrat and Republican National Convention, they're pretty short. And then they all go about their business. Chorus howls, though, aren't just made up of howls. Researchers have shown that a chorus is made up of at least 3 kinds of calls. The first is the classic howl. The second, the one boxed in white here, is that whoa howl. And I'm going to isolate it for you and just play that little section so you can hear it. It's fairly faint, so listen hard. So you see those quick up and down ripples on the spectrogram? That's the sound jumping between 400 and 800 hertz, and it's higher than your average howl. Wolves make this noise with their mouths wide open, their lips retracted, and opening and closing their mouths. And they rub up against one another as they do it. My husky Aussie gives me the same sound, usually when I walk in the door after I've been gone for a while. Now the standard howl looks different. The wolf's mouth is more tubular in shape. So if you're in Yellowstone or anywhere and you watch a pack of wolves do a chorus howl beyond earshot, you can actually lip read and know which sound each wolf is making. Now, the third type of call in a chorus is often referred to as a yip yap. You can see them in those vertical bars there, and I'll play you the yip yap from one of the Rescue Creek wolves who was wearing a biologger, and it's likely the first time this has been recorded up close and personal on a wild wolf at least. It sounds like this. So when you take these 3 different calls and you combine them into one group chorus howl, we've learned something else, that wolves can kind of count. Probably not algebra, but they can probably count. Now, what you're looking at are chorus howls from 4 different packs with different pack sizes who border one another in Yellowstone. There are wolves ranging from 7 to 19, and you can probably guess which ones. Researcher Kira Casti has shown that wolves from one pack can estimate the number of wolves vocalizing in a rival pack without seeing them, and they make a decision. If they're outnumbered, they often take off. If not, they often approach that rival pack. So we're testing technology from Google DeepMind to see if we can count wolves just from audio recordings and improve census estimates of wildlife. We're also testing whether playbacks of very large pack chorus howls has any impact on deterring wolves from livestock areas. So let's talk about the bark. And yes, wolves do bark. They just don't do it as much as dogs. Now, researchers have documented at least 3 different types of barks in wolves. There's the bark a wolf throws at rival wolves. You can kind of think of it as the canine version of you want to go at it. It's very aggressive. It's called a combative bark. Then there's the bark for a wolf's pack mates, higher pitched, faster paced, and it kind of reminds me of kids playing flag football, barking over here, over here, over here, over here, over here, and on and on and on. It's called a competitive bark. And then there's the longer bark they save for us or for any threat in the woods, like a grizzly bear. And I just call it a plain old woof. Now I'll isolate and play them in order from left to right. One more time. And here's a video clip from my friend Holly Pipple, where a yearling wolf woofs at her from across the meadow. Now what's really cool is that at least some dog breeds also have different types of barks. Terriers and Dachshunds They're little lunatics of the hunting world. They're really good hunters. And they use 4 distinct barks depending on whether they've cornered a boar, a fox, a hare, or a partridge. So the next time your dog raises hell at the mailman, what I tell people is lean in a little bit, and because there might be a little bit of grammar in that racket. My border collie, Huckleberry, and this isn't a lie, once let loose her "don't mess with me" woof, and sure enough, there was a grizzly bear outside my back door. So that bear bluff, charged, turned, and rambled off while I was stumbling back into the house. So let's talk about growl-like sounds and whine-like sounds. There are 2 wolves in this photo. And you can see their eyes. This is the dinner table of the Rescue Creek Pack. They're feeding on a bison that had died fighting another bull during the rut. And at these dinner tables, just like you heard at your own Thanksgiving dinner, wolves often have a few things to say to one another. Now, we all know what a synonym is, right? Those of us who took English. They're words with similar but not identical meanings, like breezy or blustery. We also know what an antonym is. They're opposites, but opposites don't mean unrelated. Like hot and cold are antonyms because they live on the same semantic thread. Temperature, right? Hot and cold. You don't say hot and rock as if they're antonyms. There's no common thread there. Wolves and your dogs make sounds that function like synonyms and antonyms too. Growls have synonyms like snarls and pulsing growls, and they're words of aggression. The snarl is one type of growl made when inhaling and exposing the canines. You get your dog to do this. Just go get a bone from like Matt's Meats, give it to the dog, and then try to take it, right? The snarl given by this wolf on the left, on my left, is often given right before the wolf is about to attack the other wolf, and this other wolf was sneaking in. Now, in contrast, whine-like sounds and their synonyms like whimpers, yelps, and moans often mean something akin to "help me." Now, these 2 classes of sounds, growls and whines, are antonyms. The common thread between them is one of social relationship, dominance or submission, and a little bit of spatial relationship, like get away or come closer. This is a one-of-a-kind video. You're going to hear both the growls and whines around a wolf's dinner table, kind of like my dad, Pete, who I think's in the room, growling when I whine for a bite of his prime rib. Now, what you're about to see and hear is a stark reminder of nature's reality and kind of how all of life's food chain takes part in death. This elk fell 80 feet to its death, trying to escape wolves. Now, in this instance, the wolves won. On average, wolves win about 15% of the time they try to take down an adult elk. That video will never be taken again in all of humanity. The camera trap was right there. Now listen. Hear the whine? That wolf that was trying to get in there was whining. He keeps trying to come back. No, they're not going to let him in on this carcass. No way. Hear those whines? And watch what happens when you hear the next sound. It's a pulsing growl. Okay, I'm going to leave now. And then the rest of nature takes part in this death. The fox comes in, and of course he's being wary, and then a wolf comes and chases him off. Now, this is amazing. Watch this. Watch this wolf look back, and watch how it communicates. Boom. See that? What happened? Tail tucked. Look at this tail. Straight up. Submission, dominance, gestural communication. There were golden eagles, magpies, even a black-capped chickadee came in for a bite of meat. And all of nature Now, long before rifles, Native Americans used the land itself to drive bison over cliffs. And when I first saw this, I thought, wow, that's probably maybe something they learned from wolves. Now, of course, wolves kill, and so do we. The average age of an elk killed by wolves is 14. The average age of an elk killed by hunters is 6.5. We're both meat eaters. Today, humanity consumes roughly 350 million metric tons of meat each year. Wolves take about 450,000. Now, we as Montanans have shown, especially this year, that we love the outdoors and public lands. And the question I have is, are we willing to give the wolves and some of the other critters who gather around nature's table a few of our elk? Now, this is another amazing thing we're learning. Wolves sometimes use two different sounds to make a short sentence. Whales, songbirds, and some primates also do a similar thing. You can kind of think of it like combining two words, cry and baby, cry baby, or cry and wolf, cry wolf, where combined the two words mean something slightly different than each word used in isolation. Now, in this video, a female wolf uses what's called a bark howl after she was chased and nearly killed by a rival pack. Coyotes do that a lot. Wolves, when they do that, you know what's going on. Now here's the spectrogram. I loosely translate the bark howl. Go away, bunny. I loosely translate the bark howl. The bark is that vertical bar, something like stranger danger, an alarm, something like that. And then the modulated howl, the distress howl, something like here I am, I'm in distress. Now that there is my friend's dog Bunny, and it's an internet sensation who speaks with buttons. And these buttons have gotten really popular. They look like these. My dogs weren't too smart, so they didn't learn them.
Treat.
And if you buy these, do not train your dog on that word. It's just a dumb word to use. So recent research on dogs who use these sound buttons to communicate suggests that canines have the mental fortitude to combine two different buttons into a short phrase. Now, I don't have time to take you through this, but check out the company Fluent Pet, as well as some of the latest science on them, to see some really funny examples. One dog even learned to press the button for water, and then the button for cold, because those were the only buttons in the list he had, to ask for ice cubes that he loved to play with. So let's wrap up our brief overview of wolfish with puppies. Now remember the pregnant female taking a nap in her den that I showed you earlier? And she was named 1331. And here she is, rising from slumber, then greeted by her packmates. You can almost feel the conversation. There's tails sweeping and there's low growls and whimpers, trading reminders of rank, and then a slow group hug with her at the center. And everybody was waiting for the pups to be born. 25 days later, one of her pups stepped outside the den, raised its tiny 3-inch snout, and howled beside Mom with an ARU nearby. Pups howl in a higher pitch, often starting high and then dropping low like you're seeing there. And if we stretch that puppy howl out, it looks a little like this sound. Now that was the sound of a Yellowstone Ranger recorded by the same ARU, and it hits the same note as a wolf pup's howl. And you want to know something cool? An adult wolf howled back at that Ranger. Now, anyone here have a dog who loses its mind when an ambulance goes by, or any emergency vehicle? Mine do. And that might not be random. In the wild, for example, elk and deer rush in to high-pitched calls of their young. Humans do it very instinctively with young. And my hunch is that your dog's response is a little bit of muscle memory from deep time and perhaps an old instinct. They want to know where that pup is. And here's where Wolf 1331's pups grew up learning their form of language. It's Yellowstone at its rawest. No wonder why 5 million people visit there a year. Now, 1331 was illegally snared in January near Tom Minor. The individual who snared the wolf helped found the nonprofit organization called Outdoor Heritage Coalition. Now, Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks law enforcement did their job. They investigated the crime and submitted a request for prosecution to Park County's attorney's office. And the attorney's office decided not to pursue it further. Now, I'm not trying to be controversial here. If you're curious as to why, just go politely visit with them like I did. There's no need to turn this into a conspiracy theory. Just have a civil conversation to understand how they approach this fascinating world of wildlife crime in one of the richest tourism economies in America. Now, I'm very thankful and joyful to have grown up here and live here. And I know people have multiple opinions on wolves. My fellow 18,000 citizens of Park County oversee a $500 million annual tourism economy, and that's our heritage. It's driven largely by the 1 million people who drive down Highway 89 to visit Yellowstone annually. In comparison, working lands, also our heritage, is only a $40 million annual economy here. Tourism for good and bad, and there's lots of bad in it, keeps our lights on. Park County's bed tax alone generates $8 million annually for the state. And perhaps it's time the state gives us some of that money back to us here, to fix gravel roads, to hire more wardens, and more attorney support staff, or as any CEO would do, to reinvest in the asset that pays the bills here, wildlife. Just last year alone, various wildlife were poached inside and just outside of Yellowstone's border. A few examples: 3 trophy bull elk shot with ARs in Slough Creek, inside the park, in September. A mountain lion near Gardner, 3 wolves, including Mother Wolf 1331 and 907's mate. That's not heritage. That's called theft. Now look, wolves are neither saint nor sinners. I'm not going to say they are, and nor are we, right? Most of us are neither far left or far right. We live on this bell curve of the middle. And we don't blame people raising cows and not condos. We know that wolves and grizzlies and even larkspur kill livestock. We know the overall economics is insignificant according to the Department of Livestock, but it matters when it's your living. My good friend and multi-generation rancher out in Dillon lost multiple head this year to wolves despite investing in guardian dogs. Sometimes lethal control is necessary. And on the flip side, we don't blame predators for all the issues we face here in the West. We know that hunters kill ungulates too. We don't sue FWP because we want all of the elk for ourselves. 135,000 of them last year, of which 28,000 were killed by hunters. We also know that ranchers here complain a lot more about elk than they do wolves. So why all this fuss about predators eating some of those elk? Now look, I'm not opposed to fair chase wolf hunting, but running over predators with snowmobiles, that's not heritage. That's called torture. But the most important thing of all to me is I believe in us as a community. That wherever we sit on the political spectrum, we can sit down together to discuss wildlife management and listen with respect and humility and find real common ground in reality, not myth and economics and not emotion. Because we're one of the last best places on earth, and there aren't many of them left. If your body represented the total weight of all the world's land mammals today, your right forearm would be what's left of the wild ones, the entire world. The rest of your body is us, our livestock, and our pets. And here's the kicker: your left forearm represents all of the dogs on the planet. All of the dogs on the planet are equal in body mass to all of the remaining wild terrestrial mammals. As for carnivores, things like lions and tigers and wolves, oh my, right? They are less than my pinky. The challenge we collectively face for our children's children goes far beyond our individual opinions on wolves. It's about the future of wildness itself, for a hunter like me and for non-hunters alike. So, in honor of 907, who limped past this camera trap and into the night just days before she died, let's end the only way I'm gonna make you end, which is with a group howl. And you've gotta beat the 5th graders today, who were really good. So I'm gonna count to 3, and you're gonna let her rip like only our county can. And here's a tip: use the vowel oo, as in boot. It lifts your tongue to the roof of your mouth, the same as a wolf does. And we're going to tune up our voices by listening to this recently rediscovered 1995 audio captured by Bob Landis on old school magnetic tape, the good kind, like we listened to AC/DC on. These are some of the first wild wolf howls in Yellowstone after 70 years of silence. Okay, let's do this. Now be loud, just for me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. So do me a favor at a Christmas party, try that out. Slam a shot of whiskey and try it out and let me know how it goes. So a big thank you to Yellowstone's Wolf, Cougar, and Elk Project team for their tireless work. The park's mission was never about money. It was about protecting what's left for all of us to enjoy, one of America's grandest ideas. And yet by guarding the spirit of the land, we in Park County found its monetary wealth too. A huge thanks to Mark Brammer and his team. Go check out the exhibit. It's worth your time. There's Paleo-Indian tools, the first dogs, an amazing sculpture being done by George Buman, brought to you by Airy, Tom Murphy's in there, George Buman, Yellowstone Forever, Wild Livelihoods Business Coalition. And before I open up to questions, I have one more treat for you. This is a rare blooper footage of a very rare wolf sound, brought to you right after dinner, I hope for some of you. Now, Maya Angelou once commented, people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. So Matt, crank up the volume for this one. It's special. Ready? Wolves can store up to 20 pounds of food in their stomachs, and when it's time to feed their pups, they carry that food like a living backpack. And they return to the den or rendezvous site to deliver the meal. They, like us, are trying to make a living and feed their families. So I'm sorry about that, and let's open it up to questions, and thank you.